Oxford Bookworms, Stage 1. The Coldest Place on Earth. Chapter 8. Across the Plateau. On November 21st, the Norwegians killed 30 dogs. They were happy, Amundsen said, and now they're going to die quickly. We need 3 sledges and 18 dogs to go to the pole. When the dogs were dead, the other dogs ate them. The men ate them too. They were good friends, Bjaaland wrote in his diary, and now they are good food. 2 days later, the dogs were fat. Then, in a snowstorm, they began their journey again. After the snowstorm, there was fog, and in the fog, they got lost on an ice river with hundreds of big holes in it. They could see nothing, and it was very dangerous. In 4 days, they moved 9 kilometers. But the ice is beautiful, Bjaaland wrote. Blue and green and white. This is a wonderful place, but I don't want to stay a long time. After the ice, there were strong winds and bad snowstorms. They could see nothing in front of them. But every day they travelled 25 or 30 kilometers. Then, on December 9th, the sun came out. They were at 88 degrees, 23 minutes south, 175 kilometers from the pole. 5 more long days, Bjaaland wrote. That's all now. But where is Scott? For 4 days, Scott's men stayed in their tents near the mountains. There is a bad snowstorm outside, Oates wrote. It's too cold for the ponies, and our clothes and skis are bad too. On December 9th, Oates killed the ponies. They were tired and ill, and they could not walk up to the plateau. Then Mears and his dogs went back to Cape Evans. We can pull the sledges ourselves, Scott said. We can do it. We're all strong men. There were 2 sledges and 8 men. They went 24 kilometers a day. On December 31st, Scott said to Teddy Evans and the men on the second sledge, You can't ski well. Leave your skis here. So they pulled their sledge 24 kilometers without skis. Next day, Scott went to Teddy Evans's tent. You are ill, Teddy, he said. You can't come to the pole. Take 2 men and go back. Tomorrow. Teddy Evans was very unhappy. 2 men, Captain, he said. Why not 3? Because Bowers is going to come with me, Scott said. He's strong. We need him. But you have food on your sledge for 4 men, not 5, Evans said. And Bowers has no skis. I'm the captain, Teddy, Scott said. You do what I say. Take 2 men and leave Bowers with me. Oates wrote to his mother. I'm going to the pole with Scott. I am pleased and I feel strong. But in his diary he wrote, My feet are very bad. They are always wet now, and they don't look good. On January 4th, Scott's men left Teddy Evans and went on. Scott, Oates, Wilson and Edgar Evans had skis, but Bowers did not. They were 270 kilometers from the pole. December 14th, 1911, was a warm, sunny day. 5 Norwegians skied over the beautiful white snow. It was very quiet. No one spoke. They were excited and happy. 6 more kilometers, Bjaaland thought. Is there a British flag? I can't see a flag, but... Look, Hassel said. What's that over there? Bjaaland left his sledge and skied quickly away over the snow. What is it? He thought. Is it? No. It's nothing, he called. There's nothing there. Nothing. 3 kilometers. 2. Roald, Hansen called to Amundsen. Go in front of me, please. It helps my dogs. That's not true, Bjaaland thought. His dogs are running well today. But Hansen wants Amundsen to be first. The first man at the South Pole. They skied on and on, over the beautiful snow. Stop, Amundsen said. He waited quietly for his men. This is it, he said. Bjaaland looked at him. But there's nothing here, he said. Amundsen smiled. Oh, yes, there is, he said. There's something very important here, Olaf. Very, very important. What's that, Roald? Us. We're here now. Isn't that important, Olaf? The 4 men stood on the snow and looked at him. Then, slowly, they all began to laugh. Chapter 9. The End of the Race. The Norwegians stayed 2 days at the pole. They left a tent there, with a Norwegian flag on it. Inside the tent, they left some food, a letter for the King of Norway, and a letter for Scott. They left some more black flags near the pole, and one 28 kilometers north. Then they skied away, back to the north. It's a beautiful day, Bjaaland wrote. The sun is warm, the snow is good. But the dogs run too quickly. I can't get in front of them. They found their depots easily. There were 10 between the pole and Framheim. Each depot had a lot of food. They laughed and skied quickly down the mountains. Often they skied 50 kilometers a day. On Friday, January 26th, 1912, they came back to Framheim. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. Inside the wooden house, Lindström, the cook, was asleep. Amundsen walked quietly to his bed. Good morning, Lindström, he said. Is our coffee ready? The black flags waited at the pole. What's that, Captain? Bowers said. Over there. Where? Scott asked. What? Oh, my God. They all saw the small black flag in the snow, 2 kilometers in front of them. Slowly, they pulled their sledge to it. Next day, January 17th, 1912, they found the tent and the Norwegian flag. Near it, Scott took the British flag from under his clothes and put it up. In his diary, Scott wrote, This is a very bad day. We are all tired and have cold feet and hands. It is minus 30 degrees centigrade, and there is a snowstorm. Great God, this is an awful place. They turned north. 5 tired, unhappy men in the coldest, emptiest place on earth. On March 13th, 1912, Scott's wife, Kathleen, looked at her morning newspaper. Norway's flag at South Pole, it said. She looked at it for a long time, and then began to cry. What's the matter? Her friend asked. My poor, poor husband, Mrs. Scott said. What's happened to him? Where is he now? Scott's men were always hungry. There were not many depots, and they were difficult to find. We need to find the next depot today, Oates wrote. But how can we find one black flag in all this snow? It's very difficult. And there is food for 4 men, not 5. They were all tired and ill, too. Oates's feet were black now, and he could not feel them. On February 16th, Edgar Evans died. On the 17th, they were past the mountains. At the depot there, they ate one of the dead ponies. Then they went on. 10, 11, 12 kilometers a day. They were ill because their clothes were not warm, and they didn't have much food. The temperature was sometimes minus 40 degrees centigrade. On March 7th, Scott looked at Oates's feet. They were big and black. I can't pull the sledge now, Oates said. It's very difficult to walk. Am I going to lose these feet, Captain? Scott looked at Oates's feet and said nothing. On March 9th, they found another depot, but there was not much food. Slowly, they walked on. Oates's feet were worse every day. March 17th was Oates's birthday. He was 32. He lay in the tent and listened to the wind outside. He was very cold, very hungry, and very, very tired. He wrote a letter to his mother and gave it to Wilson. Then he got up and opened the door of the tent. He stopped in the door for a minute. Scott, Wilson, and Bowers looked at him. They didn't speak. I'm going outside for a minute, Oates said. I may be some time. They didn't see him again. At Cape Evans, the Englishmen waited. On December 11th, Mears and the dogs came back. On January 3rd, Teddy Evans and his 2 men arrived at Cape Evans. The Terra Nova came and went. Winter began. Scott did not come. The Englishmen waited all winter at Cape Evans. Then, on October 26th, 1912, they started for the south. 2 weeks later, they found a tent. There were 3 bodies in the tent: Scott, Wilson, and Bowers. They put the bodies under the snow. Then they took the men's letters and diaries and went north to Cape Evans again. In Scott's diary, they read, Oates died like a good Englishman. We all did. Please, remember us and look after our families. We did our best. No one found Oates's body, but he is there, somewhere, under the snow and the wind, in the coldest, emptiest place on earth.